we set up. Yo, this is free content right here.
Why? It's
I mean,
buffering still.
It's always free content. It's... What does that say?
Oh, shit, we're published. Welcome to the Nightmare 365 podcast. My name is Greg, with my brother Matt.
What's up, everybody? Tuning in. All
Yeah,
right, cool.
Free.
I just wanted to share this.
Share what?
Like, share it so people know. Like, most people aren't on,
Oh, yeah, share it up.
you know. Most people aren't on the...
All right, well, I'll
YouTube.
start the podcast since he's around right now.
What are you starting? Yeah, you love that hat. Is that the Sunday River hat?
Damn right.
Is that your favorite hat?
Yeah, it's one of the only fat
hats?
No,
It's a fat hat.
no, it's the only one like kind of hat that fits my head, like it, how I like it.
How do you like it?
I like it tight. I don't like any like bumps or anything.
I don't like any bumps. What does that even mean?
No, sometimes hats are too big. Sometimes hats are too small.
Greg likes the ones with no bumps.
What's that, man?
All right, I posted that. That's cool. Boom, boom. I guess I can keep on Twitter. Just trying to market us. Cool. Let's see. Let's see.
Alcatraz, man.
I'll just delete this. Yeah, I was pretty excited. When you first said this episode,
You're like,
let's do it.
It's not Bigfoot. It's not aliens. It's
Yeah, I was like, all right,
it's not Bigfoot aliens.
let's see where this goes. But then getting into it, that's cool. All right, you want to start the show?
I already started it.
You didn't start anything.
I did.
I wasn't even talking into the mic.
Welcome to the show.
That's how you're going to intro it? Greg's going to be the host today. He's going to lead the conversation, ask some questions. I'm just going to fill in the little beep, 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 little details.
We're going to jump right into the theories and wrap up our final thoughts on this show.
You do love your theories. All right, ready?
Yeah, man. It's already been published.
Well, now we're actually live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Greg with Matt in the Nightmare 365 studios talking about Alcatraz. Everything Alcatraz today.
Escaping Alcatraz. How many attempts were there?
There was a lot of attempts. No one's made it
That we know of.
that they think of. It was the only escape-proof prison. 14 attempts, right?
Yeah, that's what I read.
I mean,
there could have been more.
There was multiple people during those attempts, but, only 14.
Yeah, it wasn't like 14 people trying to escape.
Um,
This is the center of weirdness for the entire planet.
But we're going to mainly focus today on the Anglin brothers and Frank Morris,
Yeah.
the guy that was with the Anglin brothers.
And what about the other guy that's not known
The guy
to
who
these three, the trio?
The guy who greased himself up and swam to shore that made it, or what?
See, no,
Or you're talking about the Anglin like
Alan West.
Okay, yeah, that helped the Anglin brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was, if, you believe the theories, the
He backed
stories.
out, yeah.
Well, he didn't back out. He just couldn't fit through the hole in time.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that too, because he's I wouldn't call him the unsung hero, but he's the guy who really started this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I didn't know that too, because you never hear that name. You always hear the Anglin brothers and Morris, but you just never hear Alan West be mentioned a lot. Obviously, if you were really into this topic, you would heard his name all the time from the books and documentaries. And I have a couple good ones to recommend for people to check out.
I like their plan.
Their whole plan overall?
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of just being like,
I'm going to swim. Yeah.
fuck it, I'm just going to kill some guards and go for it.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You have to have it really planned out.
Yeah.
Just like these podcasts. All right, let's play some music. Welcome to Nightmare 365.
This is the center of weirdness for the entire planet.
There's tons of unsolved mysteries out there. The Jersey Devil. Witches still exist.
What about monsters?
Do you believe in ghosts?
Bigfoot is not out there.
Bigfoot is definitely out there. UFOs are real.
UFOs might be real.
Do you believe in conspiracies?
I consider myself a conspiracy theorist.
I want to believe in all these case files.
Trust no one. The government lies to you.
We're just two brothers exploring the unexplained, mysterious, and spookiness that lives among us.
And we're back.
Yeah, the intro.
I like that intro.
I do too, man. It's a good one.
So a little backstory about Alcatraz, which most people don't know. The name actually means the island of the pelicans. The first guy to sail into Golden Gate Harbor, Golden Gate, from the sea, saw like all the big pelicans, all the big birds like hanging on the island, and he named it
Alcatraz?
Yeah, he named it like, the island of the pelicans, and then it just became Alcatraz.
That's
later.
pretty cool.
And most people don't know that Alcatraz was the first thing to develop on Alcatraz in 1828, I believe, was the lighthouse and the Civil War fort, like a fortification on Alcatraz, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I guess when I was reading about it, the earliest recorded owner of the island, Alcatraz, Julian Workman, and he was given it with the understanding that, hey, there needs to be a lighthouse here. I guess any form of big island in a harbor, there needs to be some type of lighthouse. Think about New York here.
Sure.
I mean, what they try to do with the Statue of Liberty is make it a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Just because there's a big island in the harbor and they needed to kind of show people where it's going.
Too big of an island, is it?
No, but it's big enough. It's not near what Alcatraz is, but they're always trying to put lighthouses here. Even in our state, how many lighthouses up and down? There's like 19.
Yeah.
Just in our state alone.
Yeah, and Alcatraz is in the bay, but it's like a mile and a quarter off the shoreline of San Francisco.
In California.
In San Francisco Bay.
And you were out there, right?
Yeah, I've been out there plenty of times.
To Alcatraz or just in like the Bay Area, San Francisco?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a nighttime tour, like with a lantern, which I thought was pretty cool. So they to get out there, like the National Park Service,
Now it's run by the National Park Service.
Yeah, now it's run by the National Park Service. Takes you out on a boat. You could do daytime tours, obviously, but I thought a nighttime tour was pretty cool, pretty the way to go, with a lantern walking around.
Spooky. Set the mood, right?
Yeah, set the mood, man.
Is it the same company that does the Statue of Liberty, Statue Cruises?
Yes.
Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember people always used to come to the statue and ask, where's Alcatraz? And be like, what?
Yeah, people are idiots.
Because it was always associated with, Statue Cruises, and you would see pictures of the statue in Alcatraz or even like the Golden Gate Bridge.
I would just tell people to get on the boat. You'll be there in like 10 minutes.
That's messed up, man.
Why? When I used to work down in D.C., people used to ask me like where the mountain with the faces are.
Where the mountain where the faces are?
Yeah,
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
And what'd you say?
I go 4 blocks down to the right, make a left, right there on the Dakota Avenue.
And people really started walking?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
I wonder when they got down to that area, they're probably asking people, or they were looking around and you'd be like, that guy's a dick.
Yeah, and there was also one guy who asked me where the Liberty of the statue was.
Yeah, well,
I
makes
said
sense.
New York Avenue, man, right down there.
Hey.
He started walking. Happy as shit.
Hey, man, if you're a tourist and you don't know, but what if you went to another country and you did the same thing?
That would be awesome.
Would you do it? Like, oh, where's the tower with the face?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it's right down there. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks, man.
So getting back to Alcatraz, which I think, because the movies built it up so much that the prison didn't even run for 30 years. I think it was 27 years.
Yeah, it was a federal prison from 1934 to 1963.
Yeah, all right, so 19 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No,
but yeah, get that math right. No, but I thought it was cool too, like doing some of this research that during the Civil War, because I didn't know that it was the Civil War fort at all.
I told you.
I know. I mean, I was big. I'm really big into the Rev War, and then I really got into the Civil War a couple years ago. But
I'm really big into the movie The Rock with Nicolas Cage. And
that's
Sean
why you
Connery.
wanted to do this, right? Is that why
I really like that movie. Yeah, man.
I really enjoyed that movie as well.
You know, I would wonder if those were the real tunnels though in the movie.
No. Do you think they filmed on that? I didn't look anything into like The Rock or
Yeah,
with this topic.
I mean, yeah, I think they did.
You think they filmed on it?
Hell yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of stuff is CGI. When did that movie come out?
90s?
Really? I'm gonna look that up.
I'll look that up right now.
Yeah, look it up. 'Cause it was a good movie, and I liked it. But see, why don't they make a movie that just like if they made a movie.
They did make a movie about Alcatraz. Clint Eastwood was in it.
No, I know that, but just like a movie based around these guys, because it's such a mystery in itself. Like you could do a great mystery movie of this, and kind of, even if you want to stretch it out a little bit, you could stretch it out as far
1996.
as 96. Oh yeah, man.
So CGI wasn't big at all, man.
Yeah, but they still had that stuff. So I'm sure on location filming, you should have asked next time if you go. Ask, be like, was The Rock filmed here? People always used to ask weird stuff like that, but
Why? Ghostbusters was filmed on Statue of Liberty.
yeah, sure. Tell people that. People used to ask that all the time.
The Marshmallow Man is right back out back.
People used to ask how they do the fight scene for X-Men in the statue. I'd be like, yeah, I mean, they just had, people dangling all over. Oh, really? Yep. So it's the same thing anywhere you go, I guess. Which when did this Alcatraz actually became? It was acquired by the United States Department of Justice on October 12th, 1933, and the island became a federal prison in August of 1934. So that was kind of cool with the whole history, backstory of Alcatraz as well. I do remember, I think it was Ghost Adventures who did a couple episodes out there, right? Did the Ghost Hunters ever go out there?
Ghost Hunters, I think they went out to Alcatraz.
Did they?
I think so.
I think that would be a cool place to go and then do an investigation and look for ghosts. Did you feel anything, like when you were there, did you think, like, have any feelings, anything creepy, anything happen to you? Do you see anything people ask about ghost stories?
No.
I could only imagine being there at night and then them asking that kind of stuff, those kind of questions. Like, oh, is this place haunted? I could see tons of people. You didn't ask that question?
No, they talked about ghosts and stuff like that. Like, people hear things, because, like, with any prison, people die there,
Of course. People got shot by the guards. Pop, pop, pop.
But none of the things like Eastern State, like, the cell doors would close or anything like that.
I don't know. It would seem like there would be...
Maybe, they talked about the tunnels, like, maybe in the tunnels more because of how old they are.
You could have went down there, which I thought was cool, too, and this is another aspect, when it was an actual federal prison. I didn't know, like, families actually lived on the island. I guess it got too expensive for them to keep boating them out every day.
Yep.
From San Francisco.
Yeah, the guards, yeah.
So they just built housing for the family. And on, like, one side of the fence was, like, freedom, schools, cafeteria for, people, convenience stores, little kids were playing. And then on the other side of the fence is you're locked up, you're not leaving. And that was crazy to me when I was watching some documentaries, and actually seeing that, this was a place that people lived and could freely, leave the island, and then people
it was only like a 15-minute ferry ride back to the island, and like the main reason why they shut it down was because of for prisoners per day, like the cost per day was about $10 per prisoner. As opposed to like any other facility inside the United States, like, on land.
Well, yeah.
It was $3 per day.
It has to be so much more expensive.
So
you're shipping it out there.
Time.
And not only that, too, I mean, the prison was there for a while. It wasn't like they just built it, hey, for Alcatraz to, like when we think of Alcatraz, even though it's been around before the prisons, like we think of Alcatraz as just that's a prison.
Yeah.
But it's more like the island.
Yeah, it kept getting built up and built up and built up over the years, like, and then structure on top of structure. They
the salt water, the air that's there just erodes concrete. So after a while, that's why it overall just ended, just because obviously finance.
Yep.
And then also
upkeep.
The upkeep on this and the amount of, I guess, concrete that would have to keep going into this.
Yeah, like the first prisoners were held like on the island. Like deserters from the Civil War prisoners, so people like that. Like that's what, like, that was like the first type of prison on the island.
Yeah, it's cool.
During the Civil War.
It just had like a unique history to me. That's why I really got into this, and now reading more about it. And now I really want to go and take a bunch of tours.
It was considered like escape proof because number one, like the current around Alcatraz like is swirling because it's obviously in the middle of the bay. And that bay is like very, very deep. Like I don't know if people realize that, how deep it is. And
one of the things I want to recommend, which I'll have in the show notes as well. There's two documentaries on YouTube that you could watch. They're about 45 minutes to an hour. One is called Escape, Breakout from Alcatraz documentary. Again, all this is going to be linked in the show notes. And the other one is documentary 2016, The Great Escape from Alcatraz Prison. And I thought both of these did the whole thing great justice as far as like painting the, you know, the picture of this actual story. I really enjoyed the documentary where the Dutch came in and the Dutch scientist, and showed you actually the currents, like so basically the bay that would come in through the Golden Gate Bridge. You know, if people don't know what we're talking about, the bay would, you know, the water would rush in to the actual bay through the Golden Gate Bridge.
Correct.
You know, an underground like current system or stream, river, and then you could see it like all rushing out. Yep. So that was kind of cool. Like, and that really
it depends on what time, like what high tide or low tide you left on. Because if you left on the outgoing tide, like you're gonna get sucked out past the Golden Gate Bridge. But there was a show, I think it was on the History Channel or Nat Geo. The guy did like a buoy. He threw like 4 buoys, like where the Anglin brothers like escaped from.
Yeah.
And 2 of the buoys went out like past the Golden Gate Bridge, and one of them got stuck in like a vortex.
Yeah.
Because like the underground like terrain, like it comes up in a certain point, like right before the Golden Gate Bridge, and it just like makes it like a whirlpool circle right there, so you get stuck there. And the other one actually like made it almost to shore. Like, so it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was. And these documentaries, like the one they show, I guess there's enough people that either jump off the bridge, go missing, or dumped, or you know, kind of get washed up into this actual you know, bay area. Yeah, that they actually have, I don't know what you want to call it, but a miniature replica of the whole bay in the area.
Sure. Yeah.
Where they could show you how the tides work.
Yeah, they also did a thing like it was Drain Alcatraz. You ever watch that, like Drain the Ocean?
Yeah,
Drain whatever. They did one on that, and you could see like the terrain.
I never saw that.
Yeah.
That would have been kind of cool to see. Maybe I'll. Was that on? Do you know what it was on? Can you find it on YouTube or anywhere else?
Yeah, just type in Drain Alcatraz.
Oh, I'll look that up
Drain
tonight.
San Francisco Bay.
Because this one I really, you know, got hooked on.
Because it showed you actually how like how Alcatraz was made.
Oh, just for like building them up, or like the island itself?
No, like how like, because there was, you know where the Golden Gate Bridge actually is?
Yeah.
So that was like one landmass. And I don't know how it happened, but it collapsed and the water rushed in. So Alcatraz that's a mountain. Yeah. But you just can't see underneath it. Just picture like Hawaii. Yeah. Like that's mountains on, you know, but just water all around it. So that's how Alcatraz is made. So
I'll have to watch that. That sounds pretty cool. But
like most people don't know though that the one guy, the one of the 14 who broke out, he greased himself up, slipped out of the window through the bars, swam, made it to shore.
Was that the one from 1946?
Correct. So like when people say it's escape proof, it's really not. Well, like they really thought it was.
I don't think any prison or any kind of system is.
No.
You know, because if it's man-made, there's always going to be, even if it's not man-made, there's always going to be like obstacles that we can kind of figure out.
Well, they thought it was escape proof just because of the current around the prison.
Well, that's why they wanted to send people there.
Yeah,
just because
they never thought it was, you know, people could make the swim. But now it's, you know.
Yeah, they thought repeat offenders that people like kept getting in trouble or trying to escape from other prisons. They'd be like, all right, you want to try to escape? You're going to go to the worst prison ever.
But people actually wanted to go there. Did you know that?
No.
The only reason why people wanted to go there was because it was a rule. There was only one person per cell. So you're guaranteed not to have a cellmate. So people wanted to go there, actually.
Oh, I wouldn't mind. And then occasionally you could look out and you could see water instead of just like a brick structure on the other side.
But like people do that swim now. Like they call it the Alcatraz, like or escape from Alcatraz.
Yeah, they do. I saw that.
Like you could do the actual swim.
Anytime I brought up something for Alcatraz, that's the first thing that came up. Like escaping Alcatraz, do the swim. Which we're going to get into it.
Would you do that?
I would try it. Why not? I like to swim. I like to be in the water. I'll give it a try. If I know there was a boat up there, if like I got in trouble and started getting sucked out.
Sucked out.
I don't know. Maybe the current started taking me out through the Golden Gate Bridge.
It'll
Like,
fish you out with a
it
net.
happened to these guys. These guys got sucked out to sea.
Amen.
All right, so we're here because of escaping Alcatraz. So we're going to talk about the one main escape attempt, or, failed attempt, successful attempt. I mean, they did get off the island, so.
They did get off the island, yep.
Yeah.
Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers.
Yeah, John and Clarence Anglin.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and obviously the other person, Alan West, that doesn't get talked about. So in June of...
I think he just backed out.
You think so?
Yeah, man. Or can't fit through the hole. You made that hole, man.
Yeah, but I read a lot of reports, so we'll talk about it more. But in June, what was it, June 11th, 1962, they escaped. These gentlemen, these three gentlemen disappeared off the island and were never seen again. So I think this one is really cool out of all the other attempts, because most of the other attempts, and this is the 14th attempt to escape from Alcatraz. Yep. And the previous ones all ended up failing. Either people were shot trying to, they made it out of the actual buildings and on, into the water. Some people were shot, and then other people surrendered right away. One guy was, what was he out there for 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, they could,
in the water and just like hiding out in a cave, and they couldn't get him. And then finally he just said enough. Yeah. And he came back. And like I said, another one that guys swam. Because there was 2 of them, right?
Well, I'm talking about the guy who was like found on shore by the Golden Gate Bridge, like hypothermic.
Yeah, I think there was 2 of them. When they started swimming, the one guy gave up because it was just too cold and like he just wasn't going anywhere. Yep. And he gave up. And I don't know if it was him. I'll have to look that up real quick. But he came back, and the other guy actually swam. Made it. Mm-hmm. But he couldn't move when he got to the other side just because of the hypothermia. He was freezing. And they did it in December. Yeah. From what I remember. Why would you do it in December?
Hey, man.
Like, wouldn't you wait for the warmer months? Like, all right.
I mean, the water's going to be cold, though, regardless up there.
Yeah, but you're talking about when these guys, these 3 guys.
They're criminals. They're not that smart. That's why they're in there.
See, I had a discussion. I don't think that's true. Why? Because if we look at Frank Morris, his background, yes. And these guys got, put away for bank robbery. Yes. Kind of small, like the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence Anglin.
Yeah, the reason why they were in prison in the first place, they were bank robbers. Then they were in prison.
Tried to escape.
And they tried to escape.
Yeah. So they were sentenced.
They were sent to Alcatraz.
Yeah, because John and Clarence Anglin were sentenced to prison, and they both received 15 to 20 years. Correct. Because they did a bank heist with a toy gun.
In Leavenworth.
Yeah, and they were arrested in 1956. So.
Yeah, and after failed repeated attempts to escape in Atlanta, they were sent or transferred to Alcatraz.
John, the first one in 1960, and then Clarence in 1961, and they were serving the 15 to 20 years sentence.
Yeah, so Frank Morris was sent there in 1960.
Yeah, they already I guess they had 4 years under their belt, we could say. Yeah. And they still had, depending on when they were coming up for parole, either 11 years or 19 years or whatever, 15 years left. Sure. After serving that. And then Frank Morris, same thing with him. He was
compelling.
What?
Very compelling.
What? Compelling? It is compelling. This whole story is compelling, dude.
I'm just kidding.
But Frank Morris, like you were saying, like you think most of these guys are dumb. I don't think they are, because Frank Morris, his IQ was 133. Yeah. Out of a 160. Yeah. And then
but I'm talking about the guys who tried to swim during December. I mean, that's not smart, man.
Well, here the Anglin brothers, they were talking about how dumb they were, and like the news media, and we always talk about, which I was talking to my buddy about, not believing like what the news media tells us. And this is a great example. Like, if you read their wanted posters by the FBI, these were like armed and dangerous men. They were like, hardened criminals. They weren't killers.
Really that bad.
No, they weren't. Like, they even talk about how they didn't want to like hurt anybody, so they used a toy gun. They didn't want to, cause any harm. Supposedly the Anglin brothers were kind of like MacGyvers of their time. They could like build anything.
Well, yeah, that's how they built the raft to escape.
Yeah, which I
thought. Then built we'll get into that.
And this is what made this whole thing more interesting to me, just because they were kind of like the MacGyvers in prison. Yeah, they did some stupid stuff to get locked up. Yep. And you know what? Maybe they shouldn't have robbed a bank. But at the same time, you know, you have to be, I guess, somewhat. We look at criminals being like somewhat dumb, but sometimes I think it's just bad luck. You know,
Maybe.
they were what? The Anglin brothers were 2 of 14 siblings. Maybe they didn't have that much money and they were trying to think of like ways to get money. So they decided to rob some banks. It was a quick, easy way to do that. And you have to look at the time that they were living in too. You know, when they were growing up and they were, you know, all born, they were born in the late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, Georgia.
You know, Morris and the Anglins. And, you know, the depression's here. There's wars going on. There's a lot of like crap that is going on in the world. And then when this kind of stuff comes around, it, you know, think about what gets glorified, you know, glorified in like the news and movies, like gangsters and robbing banks and John Dillinger,
you hear about Al Capone on Alcatraz.
Yeah, you hear Al Capone, all the big names, but you don't hear about these guys. That's why I think it would be cool if they actually made a movie on these dudes, you know, and made it really realistic.
Well, they did. It was back in '79.
Yeah,
Escape from Alcatraz.
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it, so maybe I don't have a comparison, so maybe I should shut my mouth until I actually watch that. But I think these guys were more than just your ordinary criminals. And it wasn't like, you know, they're the failed escaped attempts of 13 prior people. You know, even that one, which doesn't get a lot of, you know, talk, or maybe because we live on the East Coast, so we don't hear about it as much. The Battle of Alcatraz.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, where like a bunch of inmates kind of overtook. And you hear that throughout history where inmates overtake prisons and, you know, start firing weapons and stuff. So that's a whole nother, I guess you'd say, case. But that's not really unsolved and mystery enough for us. You know, where these guys, they were locked up, serving their 15 to 20 years, you know, in prison. And they decide to hatch a plan. 9 months to their actual breakout, they start, I guess, really seriously planning this. And, you know, Alan West, who doesn't get a lot of talk in this case just because he was the, I guess you could say he's the mastermind, even though he didn't escape. But he had the job that really set this in motion.
Yep.
And this job was, he was, I guess, a painter.
Yes.
I guess he was just like a cleanup guy. And on top of the cell block, I can't see because I was never there, so I can't really speak to it. You probably, I don't know if they take you up there on the tours.
No, they don't.
But it's on top of the actual prison, like cells.
Correct.
So there's 2 stories.
Yes.
And then on the second story, on top of that, there's just like a catwalk, you could say.
Yeah, it's like almost like a catwalk, yeah. It's just like at the ceiling, but like it's a faux ceiling, like almost like a faux ceiling type catwalk.
Yeah, well, why would that be up there? And why wouldn't there be like guards that can, you know, see that readily, you know?
Yeah, but he was up there painting, and he would like hang like drapes and.
Well, he didn't hang drapes right away. Like the story went was like, all right, he started thinking about this idea after seeing some like vent shafts in the ceiling and being like, all right, if we could find a way to get up here. You know, and get through the vent shaft, we'll be on the roof.
Correct.
And then how quickly can we be out, like, in the water?
Yeah, and, like, let's go through their plan. Like, so they had all different jobs, so they can get all different types of material.
Yeah, like Alan West, he was the painter. He was up there. He had access to kind of pretty much the roof.
Correct.
And then you had one of the Anglin brothers in the barber shop.
Correct. And that's where they got the hair to make the head or the dummies, you know, look realistic with hair. So he was a barber. He would save up the hair clippings, and they made almost like paper mache heads.
Yeah, which I'll pull up on our YouTube thing. They made these dummies' heads.
They look pretty realistic, man.
They do, man. They see one of these things too. After reading about this, how methodical and disciplined, and just the details that went into this. Like even the faces for their dummy head, because you know when they were trying to cut through the cell blocks, you know they had to put something in the bed just in case somebody walked by.
Correct.
You know while they're working, and they put these dummy heads with real life hair. They actually got paint from the actual artist and the art supply to flesh colored faces
Yeah.
to make it look realistic.
Yeah, because like they would do a head count at night, and they wouldn't do another head count until the next morning, where you had to stand out of your cell, and go down. They would check you off.
Well, that was one of the things too. When I was reading about this, for every 3 prisoners, there was only 1 guard.
Correct.
So I guess they were really short-staffed.
Yeah, so they would just walk around at night and, shine the flashlight in your cell, just to make sure, like, somebody's in there. So they hatched the plan that they were going to put these faux heads, pack it with pillows, like, in the bed, so it looked like somebody's sleeping in there. And so let's talk about it. So behind their cell wall is like a kind of like an alleyway where like the pipes and all, like the
for the bath,
the
like
bathroom,
the sink.
ventilation, all that stuff is. And
Yeah,
then the pipes lead up to that faux catwalk.
Yeah, because from when I was reading about this, the actual prison, like the cells weren't on, like an existing wall to the outside.
Correct.
Everything was like centralized.
Yes.
And then that's where this, little
Like
alleyway,
void,
void in the actual cell between the other side and yours.
Yep.
Was just this void, and that's what they decided to do.
Yeah, they were gonna cut, their cell or cinder blocks
because there was a vent.
It's because there was a vent, so they would enlarge that hole, and then they would crawl out of that hole, up the ventilation, up the pipes, and get up on top of the prison.
Yeah, to that catwalk, and eventually out through the actual roof of this actual prison. Which this is pretty cool because...
But like their plan wasn't to swim, though. Their plan was to assemble raincoats into a raft. They had a pump, which they took what motor off?
Well, they had an accordion.
Yeah, okay.
Frank Morris had, he played the instruments. And that was another thing, too, because, like, how did people say that they were actually, able to kind of chip away at concrete? Because that's pretty loud.
Yes.
No matter what you do. And I guess there was a music hour that they had that went on, obviously, for an hour.
Funny story, Al Capone actually played in the inmate band.
For this music. Like, so while that's going on...
Yeah.
He wasn't there. No, he wasn't there when these guys were. But when like the music hour was going on, they were chipping away.
Yeah,
and they got spoons because from the story,
he played the banjo.
That's great.
And
Al Capone did.
Yeah, Al Capone did the banjo in the inmate band.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting too. Here's the thing for like prison, right? Because they made sure all the knives were accounted for after you would eat. Right in the break, whatever you want to call it, the cafeteria break room, but they wouldn't account for the spoons.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually took the spoons and then sharpened them, however they did, because it doesn't explain it in anything that I saw.
Well, I thought one of the Anglin brothers worked in like the machine shop.
Yeah, that's another thing. They were making a lot of stuff for the wars, so there was always something. They were making boots,
Yep.
So they had access to the glue, because that was a big thing. Like, how would they make these rafts?
Yeah, the raincoats. So yeah, their plan was to basically put about 50 raincoats together to make a makeshift raft.
Yeah.
Get in the raft, inflate the raft, get in the raft, and use their makeshift oars to paddle.
Which, here's another thing, too, just thinking about it from, like, an outsider. All these raincoats. It's like, how can, like, 50 raincoats go missing? But from my understanding, everybody, no matter if it was raining or not, sometimes you would actually wear the raincoats because I read reports that like the pelicans, seagulls, everything was like a better shot than the guards. Like sometimes it could just feel like it's raining, it's not. And then people would just lay their raincoats down if it got too hot. And then if they were never accounted for.
Yeah.
So I feel like there was a lot of, it's almost like that point where anybody gets too cocky, right? They're like, oh, they can't make it off the island because even if they like start running, it's not like you're going to run to, the next town. There's no town around. You have to like swim. So, and we had guard towers and all this other shit that was going, that to be there, the obstacles to be in there, the prisoner's way. So they almost got like, I feel like too cocky or too laxed with just like the prison itself and say like, oh,
I think that's with any prison. I mean, look at the prison break that happened in was it a year ago or two up in upstate New York?
Yeah.
But
yeah, that had to do with people.
I know, but
like
I'm just
the guards
saying,
as well.
Yeah.
Like the guards were seemingly in on it. I guess you get into this.
But yeah, these guys were pretty ingenious. How they like stitched in like sewed and glued like the raincoats together. Like they used the steam pipes from the prison.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I never thought that, like, thinking about it from the outside, you always think about how can I sneak something. You know, like when you're a little kid, you try to sneak a cookie. You know, be like, oh, I see you in the cookie jar. It's like, damn, how did they see that? Like, how does nobody? I know the prisoners aren't going to rat on other prisoners, but like, how does no guard or like think about what Alan West did, right? Because if you look at pictures and the story goes that they polished the floors all the time.
Yep.
And they wanted to make it look like the cleanest prison ever. And then so when Alan West was, painting and cleaning up in this like catwalk area, he would purposely, brush dust and debris down. And the guards would be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, we need to clean now down here. And instead of being like, what's going on up there? They said, he just said, hey, I need to hang some blankets up so there's no dust or anything that, trickles
Smart,
down.
Man. Yeah.
And then, but here's like how, for that long, this guy's painting this one section and cleaning up and they don't even go up and just say like, what are you doing?
Well, that's because it's like busy work, man. You think they really care?
I guess at the end of the day, no. And if you have shift work, you're on one shift and be like, oh yeah, he's been done up there. I saw him. He came down.
Yeah.
And then, but at night they would just take all their supplies, paint supplies, glue supplies. They were sewing stuff.
Yep.
And they were reading, I guess, the magazine at the time. What was it? Popular Mechanics.
Yep.
That's where they got the idea to actually make a life preserver.
Yes, the life preservers out of the raincoats.
Which that one's pretty cool. If you get to see one of them while you were there at Alcatraz?
They have replicas. Yeah, I think so. Well, because like after they did escape, they found the ore. They found, I think, one life preserver.
No, they found 3.
Did they find 3?
Well, yeah, getting like ahead of ourselves, but yeah, Alan West.
Yeah, so
his
let's wrap
one was
up
left.
like how they got out.
That's quick, bro.
No, it's not quick.
It took 9 months to do this and plan it out.
Yeah,
and get this, from their cell, and you could see pictures, and that's why I say watch these documentaries. Like Breaking Out, these documentaries. If you have 2 hours out of your time and you really want to watch something, definitely check out the show notes because I watched one of them twice, and then it just was a wealth of knowledge and information that these people put forth.
So after they widened, they had to wait for each man to widen their vent hole, enough so they can squeeze out, with all their supplies and all their gear that they were going to bring with them. So they had to wait, maybe that's why it took them 9 months to accumulate all this stuff, as well as chisel through the concrete with spoons, obviously. That's going to take a while.
Well, yeah, it was they said, I guess it was almost a foot of concrete that was in their way. And just think about these like grown men trying to get, their bodies through, which I didn't look up anything of how big they were, or, I mean, they looked like, I wouldn't say like fat people, but like skinny people. I guess anybody that would be normal in a prison. But yeah, that was one of the things. They just took their time on everything, like making replicas of this whole like cutout. And so yeah, I'm sure this all, and then also making the actual raft, because they made a 14 by 6 raft. Out of the raincoats.
6 foot by 14 foot.
Yeah,
raft. That's a pretty big raft, man.
Yeah, so that probably took a real long time. And then just thinking about, was that the first raft that they made? Was it the second? Because they did find, when they did after they escaped and they found out the next day that something, and Alan West started spilling the beans a little bit on the whole thing. They did found, I guess it was for him, Alan West, his life preserver, and almost a smaller version of their boat, which they said wouldn't have held up at all.
Yeah.
So maybe that was like the first one. They tested it out. Like, here, let's make a smaller one.
Maybe.
And that's where one of the things on YouTube really goes into it. They actually make a boat, and then these scientists try to get across, which I think it's cool. Yes. After they did all this work, make their raft, make the paddles, make the dummy heads.
Yeah, make the paper mache dummy heads.
Yeah, make the paper mache dummy heads. Also, the vent covers to like throw them off.
Correct.
What else did they make? They made the the life jackets.
They had to cut out the rivet holes on the vents in the ceiling.
They made like knives. They made wrenches. They made a drill.
Yep.
So imagine using a drill at night too, because that had to be pretty. I mean,
Well,
it wasn't powerful.
It says
drill.
like the night that they broke out, there was a loud noise. I forget which one made like the loud noise.
At 10:30. Well, they believe it was the vent cover
like coming
for
off.
the roof.
Yeah, but since no other noise was or happened, or like they didn't hear anything else, like no one went to go investigate it. Like they thought it was just like a bang.
Yeah. So let's picture the night. It's June 11th, 1962.
Yep.
And these guys, all right, lights out at 9:00.
Yep.
Boom. Whatever. I don't know. What is a horn or a whistle or somebody, say lights out, yell it out.
Yeah, probably lights out. Then they.
All right. So now these guys are like, all right, this is the night we're doing it, because before that too, I guess from another prisoner, they got information about like the tidal, like the waves and the currents and everything like that. And so they took that information and said, all right, this is going to be a good night. If we can get out when lights are out
by
at a certain time.
Yep.
And they figured it out, even like the scientists in the documentaries figured out, all right, if they left between like 11:30 and 10 in their boat, it was a good probability that they could make it. So maybe with all the information.
Well, yeah, because the currents were right, and it would be pushing them in the right direction. So they would be paddling in, good enough direction that they could make it.
Yeah. And that was one of the things. So, all right, 9:00 hits on June 11th, 1962. Boom, we're out.
Yep. They staged the heads. They go out the vent cover, replace the vent cover, go up the shaft.
Yeah, the 13.
Yep.
What was it? 3 stories up the vent shaft.
Yep. Then they drill out the holes for the vent cover. That's when the guard hears that crash. What, around 10:30?
Yeah, because that vent cover that was from that like catwalk at the top of the cell blocks to the actual roof,
correct,
was blocked by a bar. So they had to get that bar out of the way.
Yeah, so it took them an hour and a half.
That's crazy. Imagine
from getting out of your cell to getting onto the roof.
Do you think they switched off like I'm gonna get like 3 or 4 cranks? Here you go, 3 or 4 cranks. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that vent cover was supposedly like 70 pounds.
Yeah.
So imagine. I mean, they had ladders, but just standing on top of the ladder and trying to push 70 pounds of this like wrought iron out, and you had to get it out. And that's crazy that they did hear the noise,
but no one went to go investigate it.
Well, there was a lot of because there was a lot of inmates that were interviewed for some of these documentaries, and they were saying like, when you're in prison, which I thought was kind of cool. One of the guys was saying, when you're in prison, like you hear a noise, you know exactly where it's coming from, and you know exactly what it is, because most of the time it's really just like death quiet.
Yeah, dead silence, yeah.
And then when they, heard that noise, they're like, holy shit, these guys are actually doing it.
Yeah,
some of them
that would
said
be awesome.
That. Yeah, and some of them said like, I guess when Alan West, because he was still trying to struggle. And,
getting out of the...
from what I heard, that he said, the last couple nights is when he's going to really make his big push through, the actual vent in his cell block, cell. He was going to try to make the last push, but then when he, started chipping more away, there was almost like a pipe in the way.
I think he just got nervous.
I don't think so, because in one of the documentaries, you see the pipe on the outside.
I know.
So it wasn't a pipe that was in the wall itself, but it was, behind it. Think about like a vent for like a toilet that goes up.
I know.
So instead of, going over to the left 3 inches, since he stayed squared, that's where he ran into it. He could have, but like, why would you get cold feet, man? Like planning this for 9 months.
I would just start kicking at the wall, man.
That's what he did, supposedly.
I know, but I don't know. I don't think he gave it. Like, it took them an hour and a half to get up there and get the other cover off. So
guys, wait for me.
Yeah, like an hour and a half. Like, you couldn't do. I don't know.
Yeah, and they left him another life preserver or paddle, and because that's how they identified a lot of the stuff, that got washed up, because they had that extra paddle and they had that extra life preserver that was supposed to be for Alan West that got discovered.
So after they got onto the roof, they went over towards the kitchen area,
which is the north side,
correct,
of the prison.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they had to get over the barbed wire, that was up there to get onto the outside of the perimeter fence.
Well, yeah, they also had to come down a 4-story like pipe, which is not there anymore.
No, like one of the documentaries showed like where the pipe would be and like how it was.
Which angled. I thought that was stupid. Why wouldn't you have like something that commemorates this? Because I think it would be a big draw if they had some type of tour.
Like you can actually do the escape.
That would be really cool if they actually did that. That could be a huge money thing. Why wouldn't they do that?
I don't know.
But anyway, so yeah, they got down. But I heard here's conflicting reports, because there's always going to be conflicting reports on any of these cases.
Well, yeah, because they don't really know.
Yeah, and one of the things that I saw
Mm-hmm.
was, yes, they tried to go over the barbed wire, because then people started saying, like, how come, if they went over the barbed wire with this raft, and it's a big raft.
How come it didn't?
Yeah, how come
shred?
it didn't get caught on anything? Because that would be one of my things. But then,
I would throw it over, like the first guy goes, and then boom.
yeah, I don't know how heavy like that kind of raft would be.
Well,
But one of the other reports that I saw was that they actually had some cutters, and they cut the fence. Like,
I didn't see that.
yeah, see, that's where some of the stuff gets a little fishy. Like, if you look in the reports,
they picked the north side because that was like a blind spot for the guards.
for the towers,
Yeah, you couldn't really see.
which was good. Like, see, they planned it all out. It seemed like any step that we could talk about, they planned it out to like the T.
So once they got to the water, that's when they inflated the raft.
And that took some time too. Because they had like Frank Morris made this kind of like an accordion style.
Yeah, almost
pump.
like a if you want to think about a fire, like what would you call it? Billows, the fire billows type deal. Just think about that.
Yeah, same thing. But they also had built in, which I thought was kind of cool, to their life preservers and the boat. They had these straws that they could actually blow into to like keep it afloat.
Yeah,
which was just another ingenious way. And that's where, like, when we say like most prisoners are stupid,
these guys obviously weren't.
Yeah. So now they have to make the 1.2 trek,
1.25 mile.
1.25 mile trek from Alcatraz.
But that's just a straight shot, though.
Well, to any mainland.
But if you're going with the current, man, like, I don't see how it could be that hard.
Well, they said most of the current would push you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but if they got past, like, if they kept as north as they could, right? If they kept going at like a diagonal north-facing route, and they got past, it was from the channel that runs underneath.
Yeah, if you got past that deep channel.
Yeah, which was only about 300 yards, across.
Sure.
If they got past that, they could definitely make it. And here's one of the things now where it really starts to get interesting for me.
Well, if you pull up a map, they found like one of the life preservers on like one of the adjacent islands.
The Angel Island.
Yep, Angel Island.
And that was supposedly
because people think they went ashore there.
Right. And well, the reason why they thought that was the next morning at 7 o'clock when the
the lights come on, you do the count.
Yeah, hey, stand up, here we go. Alan West was the one, when they finally started figuring out, all right, we have 3 guys that aren't accounted for. Where the hell they go? And start trying to figure it out. And one of the guards goes over and tries to wake up, what was it, Frank Morris?
Yep,
and he
Frank
shakes his
Morris.
head, and the dummy head just falls.
That's awesome.
And then they just said, all right, now they started interviewing people around them, and then they were searching cell to cell, and then they find in Alan West's cell this big hole. And they're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then he was the one who started when they were interviewing, the FBI came.
I would have been like, I don't know, bro.
Yeah, which that's another thing. Like he said the information to throw that, like the investigators off, because the FBI came here, and they like the first thing that they pointed to was like the stuff on like the top of the cells.
Yeah.
They're like, what is all that crap up there? Why is it all draped off? And they're like, oh, they're painting up there. And then that's when they found
everything.
There's cool pictures. You could actually see like their workstation for the last 9 months of building the raft, building, everything that they used for this escape. And then he said the plan was to row to Angel Island.
Yeah.
But then, like, you're still on an island if you actually look at the map.
Yeah, it's stupid. I don't know why you would row there.
From my thing, too, these guys were so methodical. And then now you're going to row to another island. What are you going to do? Like, just catch your breath and then row from there?
I mean, possibly, but...
Yeah, that's one thing that didn't make sense when he was like... So that was my understanding of where, all right, Alan West came in, and he's kind of trying to throw these investigators off. Which I'll pull up... let me pull up an actual map. And if you're watching on YouTube, you could check it out, too. But, like, the whole area. So once they got into the water, now Alan West is like telling them all their plans, like how they did it, and they're starting to piece it together. Now they start this dragnet of a search that went on. I mean, it was one of the largest searches, supposedly. This one author, too, which I'm going to recommend if you check out her books, because she was the warden's daughter.
Yep.
Yeah, Jolene.
Okay.
And she wrote Breaking the Rock. So if you want to read that, I never read the book.
Welcome to the Rock.
But so stupid.
Why?
Is that Sean Connery?
Yeah.
Do it again.
Welcome to the Rock.
So stupid.
You don't like that one?
It was pretty good. I'll give it to you.
Like, well, they found like you could like let's pull up the map and we'll show the people where they actually found like the paddle, one of the life preservers and stuff like that, so people can get a better understanding of.
Well, you could talk about it because I mean, people could
at.
look this up themselves unless they're watching on YouTube. But
Correct.
most people listen, so you kind of explain it. We'll explain it.
Yep. Yeah. So like, I think like you wouldn't row to Angel Island, as we just said, just because of the fact that you're on another island. I mean, it does make sense since it's very close. And depending on the current, it will push you that way. But it just makes sense to basically row over either, I don't know, towards like the Golden Gate Bridge,
Right.
or basically northward to, like just north of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, and then you're right there at which is
'Cause
now the Golden Gate National
You wouldn't row
Recreation
south to
San Francisco.
Yeah, you wouldn't row south to San Francisco.
I mean, you could, but it's a city, so you would want to try to get somewhere that there's not as much people, I guess. Like that would be my thought.
Yep.
But then if the current's going to take you out.
Yeah, so what it shows on like that drain Alcatraz type deal is this is like a big channel, and then like right here is where another mountain range, but it's not, you can't really see it because it's underwater.
Right.
And then right above here is where the whirlpool is.
Where the Golden Gate Bridge, like Greg's trying to say.
Yeah,
so if you're looking
to
at
the
a map,
east of it.
Yeah. That would be the east.
Yeah, towards like Oakland, towards Alcatraz on. There's like a little whirlpool type deal.
Right by the bridge.
Yeah.
And which was cool to me, right? So we know one guy actually swam it years before.
Correct.
So he actually made it to land.
Yep, he made it by the Golden Gate, like with the foot of the Golden Gate Bridge.
So these guys were in a raft.
Yep.
And
even if you went into the water, it's June, so you're not really going to get,
like this guy did, frost,
hypothermia like that quick.
Which another thing was cool to me about this, really what pissed me off about the one documentary was these scientists were doing it. And in the I think it was on the History Channel that put this together. The History Channel, when they were actually rowing, one of the guys was rowing. Two of the guys were still like blowing the raft up. And I was why aren't you all rowing? And they were pretty close to the bridge, and they got nervous, like they were going to be sucked out. But I'm like, you have a trailing, boat. And they were like,
yeah, some of these documentaries, I hate that shit. Like, it doesn't seem like realistic to me. And like, you build up to that point in these documentaries, and then it's just like, 5 minutes. Oh, we tried. Like, this is what happened.
Yeah, and they got like 95%. Yeah, because like in this documentary, if you watch it, I thought it was great in what they did, and they proved that like if these guys made a boat, and they made it in 5 days, and they made it to spec of what these gentlemen, Morris and the Anglin brothers, did make it, and they proved a couple things to me. They proved that the boat wouldn't take on water, and it actually did float because they were in there for like a couple hours.
Sure.
I think it was like an hour 15 that they actually were rowing it and going. And like the currents, and they tried to do everything spot on. Like the
same currents.
Same current situation, same everything.
Tide, yep.
Obviously they had a trailing boat, and they didn't see one thing to me, like where these guys didn't make it. They're scientists. They wanted to prove a point. They kind of proved it to me, right? These guys were just whatever, but the guys actually escaping probably had so much more adrenaline.
Yeah,
probably
you're
were so
escaping
close
for your life, man.
Yeah, and they were planning this for a year. It's not like these scientists were like, "Oh, we're gonna do this just to try it."
Yeah,
these guys were sitting here for in their cells and saying, "We're gonna get to the island. We're gonna get somewhere."
Yep.
And that's here's like the biggest mystery. Like since they escaped in 1962, there's been no trace of them.
No, like no bodies, nothing.
Nothing.
Well, because they think they got swept out to sea.
They did, and it's possible. But then here's another thing: if they got swept out to sea, right? Then how come all their other stuff didn't? Like we still found like the one paddle.
Yeah.
Did they just lose that? I think it was just north of Angel Island.
Correct.
Where they found the actual. I guess they also made a little waterproof baggie.
Okay, yeah,
and they had like 80 pictures in it, and they were
yes,
identified.
They did find that. Yes,
they were identified as like
family photos, like family
animals.
mementos.
Yeah. So, did they drop that on purpose? Like some people speculate that they dropped it on purpose.
Well, here was
some people speculate that they didn't, and you wouldn't lose something like that as like a memento of your family. I think that you could easily replace something like that if you escaped.
Yeah, like I think. I mean, we want to get into theories.
Yeah, let's talk about it because I think, if you looked at...
I think they made it to the monument, whatever, was this the Golden Gate National Recreational Area?
Yeah, which it is today, if you looked on the map.
Yeah, so basically that was all woodlands back then. Because it was it's a national park now. So I think they made it there.
Yeah.
And I would throw the raft back in.
Well,
like, why wouldn't you throw them off? You know what I'm saying? Like, throw everything back in.
You should have just put like a big hole in it.
Yeah, make it look like, the raft went down, like you guys got sucked out to sea. So this is way like they're following the rafts, following different pieces and not looking on land yet. So give yourself a little bit more of a head start.
Yeah, because the first thing that they found was the one paddle.
Correct.
So there had to be
and that was floating down by San Francisco, though, right?
Yeah, there had to have been 3 paddles, right? Yep. So they only found one. Then throughout the next couple of days of this actual search, they found that, poncho, whatever you want to really call it, the case with the photos, and then they found all 3 life preservers.
Correct.
So, then they started to theorize, like, all right, maybe these guys just drowned. But they never, ever found the boat.
Correct.
And here's another thing that really got me, which there was a police officer on duty at the time around 1 o'clock. He spotted a boat.
Yes.
And you couldn't get near Alcatraz. I think it was in like a 200-yard radius around the whole island. It could have been more, but from what I read, it was like 200 yards around there.
Yeah, it's like what we have down by Earl.
Yeah, and they said, somebody saw a boat, and then somebody saw, I guess the boat turn, it didn't have its lights on, and then turn on its lights, and then just leave. But that was at like 1 o'clock.
Well, wasn't there another report around 3:30?
That's a long time, though. If you think, all right, so if you think they got on the roof at 10:30 with that noise, right?
Sure.
And then they say another hour, and they got in that time frame, which is, from scientists, what they say, 11:30 and 12.
Yeah.
If they had proper conditions for the water currents to be proper for them to actually make it.
Yep.
And this is in June. So, yes, the water is still going to be cold. I don't know how really cold the water is over there.
Yeah, but the air temperature is going to be, in the 70s.
Yeah, I don't know what, actual temperature it was. But that's another thing, too. And we know people swim that. Mm-hmm. And they did documentaries where they just tried to see if somebody could actually make it across the channel swimming. And they did.
Yeah, you can.
So it really stuck in my mind where they started saying, like the prisoners, like the FBI, all these other people said that, they didn't make it. They got swept out to sea or they drowned.
I think, the reason why they said it, too.
It's a black eye.
It's a black eye for the most escape-proof prison, the most notorious prison in the United States.
And they look like idiots.
And they look like idiots.
And they want the bad press, even though the press was out there announcing.
Yeah, and
you
all want to
say
to the inmates, all right, you're gonna try this, you're gonna die.
Yeah, and that's what they kept saying. They the official thing was oh, they drowned.
Yep.
And it's the more information that I started to hear, it's no, it doesn't seem that way. And then one of the theories too, which they said they got picked up by a boat, was Bumpy Johnson.
Yeah.
Who was I guess you could say a mob boss, gangster out of New York from Harlem. He was the one supposedly who had arranged a boat to pick them up.
Yeah,
because he had a lot of connection.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of connections, supposedly, if you look him up. I mean, that's a pretty notorious gangster mobster of that time period. Mm. And he had a lot of connections. But then also with that theory, right, which if he arranged a boat, why wouldn't he try to escape with them?
Yeah, I don't get that.
I never understand that. People, other inmates know about some of this stuff. If they did, why wouldn't they try to escape themselves?
I don't know how much time he had left. Maybe he didn't have enough time. But if you arrange a boat to pick you up, why wouldn't it pick you up close?
Well, it could only get in a certain. Maybe they didn't want to get shot at. Maybe they.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they thought the horns were going to start going off and
maybe
But those sirens didn't start going off until 7 o'clock in the morning. So they had plenty of time if they left from 9 to 7
Well, yeah,
to really
let's
make
say
their great escape.
yeah, let's say 11:30 they got in the water. That's 7.5 hours.
Yeah, for them to get a head start
Yep.
on, these
Yeah, man,
people.
I would come up by the Golden Gate National Recreational Area.
What if you went down there? Because I don't know, but if you went down there and you started digging places and you found the raft, they buried the raft or something.
I wouldn't bury the raft.
Yeah, but what are you going to do with it? You're not going to take that with you.
I would poke a hole and
well, that's what I'm saying.
And take it with us. Hell yeah.
See, some of the stuff that it doesn't make sense to me, right? Because if that's what
because
we
that
did,
would take too much time to bury it.
So say we're the Anglin brothers and we had another dude with us, like the ghost or somebody, and we broke out and we did this.
Yep.
You would say that to yourself, and it seemed like they were smart enough guys to do that.
Yep.
But at the same time,
or like you said, they poked a hole in it and fucking threw it back.
Maybe that's what they did. Maybe they put a hole in it and they were like, "Oh, this will wash up," but it never did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like this. It takes so many twists and turns.
Well, it takes so many twists and turns now because it came out in 2016, 17.
What?
That the guy wrote the letter.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing for this whole mystery, and that's another part. If you believe it, if they got away,
Correct.
right? Because since 1962, there has been no record of these guys anywhere,
which is
popping
awesome.
up. And here's another thing, all right?
Yep.
Getting into this, if they did make it, if they didn't drown, or get swept out to sea and eaten by sharks or whatever, right? And their plan was they had a couple things because they said either they went south to, like Mexico, Brazil, South America, all that, or they went up north to Canada. Now, these guys were, yes, they were farmers, the Anglin brothers, they could have probably done that, but it doesn't seem like these guys were the type of guys to just go away. Cause
yeah, but
could you stay away for 50 years?
Yeah, but just think about when they broke out, right? There was no technology really. So you can easily change your name, change your identity, change all that stuff.
I get that, but here's the thing.
And then just live a normal life.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You wouldn't want to contact anybody, mom, dad, cousins, anybody. Family, for your wife.
They did contact in one of the documentaries. The sister said had pictures of them.
Well, yeah. If you get into that, the Anglin family started receiving, cards.
Postcards,
but
letters.
They didn't have any stamps on them. So was somebody putting that in? So here's my question now: Is somebody now putting these cards in? Are they doing it themselves? But if they're in Brazil, Mexico, anywhere down south, now they're coming back up, to the area in Florida, Georgia, just to put in Christmas cards and birthday cards.
I don't think they went to any other country. I think they went to down south where they felt comfortable with, and created a whole new identity. If they were smart enough to break out of prison, if they were smart enough to make it, they're smart enough to build the rafts, smart enough to think about all this stuff. You change your identity.
Yeah, but.
And then you live your life and don't talk about it.
And don't talk, it didn't seem like they talked to any friends or family, but
why would you?
I guess Moors didn't have too many, family left.
But if you successfully broke, I think that's where most criminals
go wrong
is they talk about it. If you
all right,
did the perfect robbery or whatever, I wouldn't talk about it.
I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people would. Maybe you're an exception to the case, but I think a lot of people, it's human nature, right?
What, to want to brag about it?
Just think about today's day and age we live in, right? Everything's about social media. Everything
yeah, but there wasn't that.
I understand, but it's still human nature, right? There's going to be a way for people to brag or say stuff.
Yep.
It's not something that's. It's not in our nature to just say oh, I'm just going to sit back and twiddle my thumbs and just sit here in the corner. When people even people like Alan West, right?
Well, we did that documentary. We did that podcast on Hitler, or we talked about it. Hitler escaping, and
I guess that's a little different. I mean,
is it different?
Because they're really war criminals. I mean, you have to watch your steps a little differently than this.
Not really, man.
I don't know. I don't think it's in our nature. It may be easier for you. To be honest, all right, now if I told you now for a week, I don't think you could do this, but for a week you had to give up your phone or, like your social media pages. You can't post anything. You can't do anything. You just can't tell anybody. Like, even
Can I go on them and look?
No, you can't do anything.
Okay.
Because then it would send, like, nowadays we could look at it like, hey,
you last logged on.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, all right, if there was somebody searching for me and we wanted to go off the grid, and if people are asking, like, oh, what are you doing tomorrow? You can't tell them. You just be like, yeah, I'm just doing yard work. But I don't think people can do it nowadays. What I'm saying, and like,
but like,
yes, it's
I think
a different
that's why
time.
like the family they claim the sisters got cards and letters and stuff like that.
Yeah, the mom kept getting flowers for her birthday and stuff. And
yeah,
if you believe the story,
like how would anyone else know that? I'm saying.
Yeah, but
is
it a family looking for attention?
No, because they really didn't come out until later.
Yeah, I think. I watched the one documentary with the two nephews.
Yeah,
they pissed me off, man.
I like the sisters better than the nephews
because the nephews seemed like they were just kind of doing this for publicity, and attention and all this other stuff.
Yep.
And I was like, really? Like, you're just being so arrogant and like, we know exactly where that. You don't know shit because you didn't give any information. That was another thing too. In 1973, when the Anglin mother was passed away, she died.
Yeah.
They were burying her. Supposedly, the FBI was staking out. But
why wouldn't you?
Supposedly, before they got there was these two women. Like, the way that they were described was these two tall, weird-looking women in long dresses and a lot of makeup were there, and people believe
that's the Anglin brothers.
It was the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence Anglin. And that's a kind of cool story if you think about it.
Hell yeah, man.
But then 2 years later, supposedly they took a picture that surfaced in like the one documentary, which they came out years later, and they said, like, all right, here's the picture of my two brothers here in Brazil.
Yes, yeah.
So, like you were saying, they made a whole new identity, and they were just living in the South. Yeah. But now they're in Brazil and South America. See, that's where, like...
But if you created a whole new identity back then, I'm sure it would be easy to get like a passport and everything like that back then.
It could, and I don't know like what extent these guys went to.
Sure.
For, actually doing this. But yeah, and you were talking about the letter, which I thought was another really compelling part about this letter.
2018, I thought it was...
I think it came out earlier, but this is when the FBI actually confirmed the existence of a letter. It was in the beginning of this year.
Yeah, written by John Anglin.
Yeah. According to the written escapee, John Anglin, he was forced to the FBI was forced to reopen this investigation, re-examine this.
The letter was 2013. It was written.
Right. And that they were looking for fingerprints and DNA, handwriting samples, which were produced inconclusive.
Yep. So they couldn't tell either way whether it was him or not.
So maybe it was just somebody that was really obsessed with the case that wrote this letter and handed it to the FBI. But the note really said that his brother Clarence and Frank Morris are dead.
Yeah.
But we did escape.
Yeah,
I'm 83 years old now, in bad shape. I have cancer.
So what he was seeking was he wanted medical attention.
Right.
Medical help because he had cancer.
Yeah.
And he said, they made it, he just wanted to write this for medical help.
All right, here's my thing, right? And I was talking to one of my buddies about this too. All right, the author goes on to say Frank Morris died in 2008, and then his brother Clarence died in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
They were serving a 15 to 20 year term, right? So say they served their full 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they still owed time from the Marshal Service that's still looking for them, and they said the only time they're actually going to close this case if they're
dead.
Well, not dead, but at the age they reach 99.
Sure.
Once they reach 99, they're presumed dead, right? Because not too many people live past that.
Correct.
If this guy came out in 2013, wrote this letter, and now 5 years later it's confirmed, after all the DNA testing and stuff, it's inconclusive.
Sure.
I don't know. Wouldn't you just say at that point, like, I'm 80 years old, like, fuck it, I'm just going to come forward? And
if you were terminally ill, yes, I think I would.
Here's another thing.
Maybe he died, though.
But here's another thing, right? Here's another thing. Clint Eastwood made the movies in the 70s, right? Wouldn't you come out earlier, like say in the 80s or even in the late 70s, and just say to yourself, or if me and you, be like, all right, we don't have a lot of money. we've been working our asses off, and we're trying to do a lot of these things. We're going to come out and say, hey, here we are. We surrender. We'll serve our term, but we own all the rights and everything. If you want to make a movie, you want to use our story, you have to pay us.
They probably didn't think like that.
But that would be a good payday, right?
That would be a good payday, but
you could say like, hey, you can make a movie.
You can write a book.
I'm going to write a book. I'm going to, tell you how I escaped. I'm going to tell you all these like ingenious ways that you guys didn't figure out, but I did to like help reform like prisons, all this stuff they could have made money off of.
So,
but maybe they weren't thinking like that. Maybe they were thinking like, you know what?
I just want to start a new life.
I want to start a new life. Forget the man, like the government, the prison system, forget them. Like I'm not owing them any more time.
Yeah.
So you just say, let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff.
So you think they made it that night?
The more I watched and the more stuff I did, I really think they did.
Okay.
But
so I don't think happened.
I don't think three men can
stay quiet.
For 50-something years, you're gonna stay quiet. You're not gonna be noticed. Nobody's gonna take pictures of you. Like
you're not gonna do another bank robbery.
You're not gonna do another bank. Like what did you do?
Yeah.
Like you went off that grid so much. Like all of a sudden now you're like, you know what? I'm gonna like Frank Morris was in trouble his whole life since he was 13 years old. He's been like
in
juvie, prison, all this other stuff. Now you're saying like 1962, he just turned it around and said, you know what? I'm not gonna get in trouble again. I'm not going to do anything bad. I'm just going to live a normal life. I don't think they could. I don't know. Like there's part of me says they made it.
Okay.
And part of me says, no, they didn't. Just because there's nothing, no evidence, no boat, no like DNA, no pictures, no.
The only question I had though,
we just have stories
about that letter is why wouldn't the FBI just come out and say, yeah, like we'll give you what you want. And
because maybe they looked at it and like, this is a fraud. We did all the testing we can.
So I would still like, if I was one of those investigators, I'd be like, yep, we'll give you everything you want. Let's go. Come out of hiding. And once he comes out of hiding, boom.
And just say we finally caught him.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it looks like bad, like any reputation, right? Like
I get that.
No matter you or anybody, you always want to try to save face.
Yeah, I get
with
that.
anything. You want to put yourself on this pedestal at the highest light it can possibly be. And maybe like the FBI was like, you know what? No, they drowned in 1962.
Then why would you even fucking look into the letter?
I mean, they have to, I guess, right?
No, the case was already closed.
Yeah, but it's public knowledge, right?
Well, yeah, that's why they reopened the case.
Right, so they had to look into it in some form and aspect of this.
He's 80-something years old now.
Yeah, 83. He's older now, right?
Yeah. He's probably 90 or 87. Yeah, 87 now. Almost 90 years old. Just say, yeah, we'll give you what you want.
So what is your thoughts? Like, if you had to look at this and say, all right, like, out of all the information that you know from going to Alcatraz, from watching the documentaries,
well,
you love wrapping stuff up.
It's plausible that they made it. It's very plausible. Because
this is very PC of you now.
Well, that's just because, like, so many people make that swim now. But they had a boat. They had a raft. They had oars. So if you could swim it, you could definitely paddle your way across. Right. I can't tell you why they didn't find the boat. Maybe they poked a hole in it and it just never surfaced. It got caught out and went out to sea. I don't know.
That's possible.
But why'd they find like the 3 life preservers and the oar and like all that other stuff?
Well, the wood's gonna float.
Yeah.
The life preservers seemed like they were in good condition.
Yeah, but wouldn't the boat be?
If you're saying if they like put a little hole in it,
yeah,
maybe the holes really started to go.
I know, but then maybe
they actually put it on the boat that they got picked up from.
That too, or another theory I had was, let's say the boat started taking on water. Maybe one of the seals broke because it wasn't that good,
right?
And the boat sank, mid paddle to the shore, and all they did have was their life vest. Because like if they found the life vest, wouldn't you find the bodies? That's my only thing.
Not necessarily. Maybe they came off. Maybe when they
all
got the shore.
All 3 of them. You know what I'm saying? All 3 of them came off.
Yeah, but it wasn't like they are today where they're like buckled in.
I know.
They had just like a flap that they put their head through, and then like a piece of string that they tied in the back.
I understand, but all 3 of them come off like that. So I don't think all three of them would come off like that. I think they made it to shore and threw them back out to make it seem like
Maybe
they
it was
drowned.
another 1916 shark attack. Maybe the sharks swam around there and got there in the 60s and
I don't think so.
attacked them and ate them.
And I think they made it. Like, why wouldn't you stay quiet after you broke out of prison?
Yeah, but look at anybody.
I
Think
understand.
about today.
I understand
I'm just
that.
trying to play like not even play the side, but
like,
just
look
thinking
at-
about it logically.
Okay, look at the escape that happened in New York, right? If the guy didn't shoot off that shotgun,
Right.
they would have made it.
But he's an idiot, and they did.
Correct.
And I think people, no matter how smart they are, just like Frank Morris, right? He got caught so many times to be put in prison, right? So what's to say now for 50 years he's not going to get caught doing something stupid or just picking up like for a petty crime or
Maybe he's smartened up. Look at the when we did the Weekday Weird, right?
For
About
which
the Golden State Killer. He stopped.
Yeah, he did.
So people can change. I don't know, man. Like I think they made it. I really do. I would like to see.
I want to believe that they made it just because I think it's a cool story. I really do, and I think it's one of the coolest unsolved mysteries. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like on the fence because out of all the information that I do know, it seems like they did make it. Like if I look at the evidence and just from it's plausible for them to do it.
Yep.
Yes, I think they did. And it's very like I'm 100% sure if we did it, like we had the scientists and they made our boat, I think we could do it.
Hell yeah, man! I would row like crazy.
Yeah, and they only had one guy rowing, and they made it 95% there.
Yeah.
Like if they had 3 guys rowing, I think you could make it.
Yeah.
And people swam it all the time. They're doing it in June. Who's to say like
Somebody didn't get out and just kick the back of the boat while they paddled?
yeah, like I'm gonna get out and swim, or I'm just gonna get out and make it. We're like you guys want to stop? Forget you. I'm almost there. I'm gonna swim myself.
Yep.
I don't know.
I agree.
But then also there's so many things that just say, hey, maybe they didn't.
Yeah, so many things can go wrong. You never know.
That's why it's still a great unsolved mystery. Do you think this mystery will ever be, solved?
Unless they find the bodies.
I mean, that's
like
another.
Unless like this guy who wrote the letter is who he claims he is, and the FBI or tracks him down, whatever the case may be, and then they do DNA testing and figure out it's him.
Yeah, and if he knew like that Frank Morris died in 2008, couldn't he say like, all right, he's buried there?
Yeah.
Or my brother, he's your brother, so I would hope you would know exactly where he's buried, so you could be like, my brother's buried here.
But maybe he buried him in like the yard the house that they're living in.
Yeah, but still, you'd be like, he's buried there, and I would like dig it up and then like do DNA samples with the actual family that still exists.
Oh yeah, I would too.
And then say like, all right, you could prove it.
Yeah, you can.
Like I'm dying, like, and that's another thing.
If he's
like,
dying, like who cares?
Well,
at this
yeah,
point?
but here's another thing too, like which we didn't really discuss but talk about. But if you're Frank Morris or you're, the Anglin brothers, and you're dying, like 2008, you're about to die.
He didn't know he was about to die though.
All right, so 2 guys didn't know they were about to die, and this guy is finally like on my deathbed confession, I would come out and be like, I did it, motherfuckers. I escaped. The only prison that they said couldn't be escaped from.
Yeah.
We're the only peoples that, like did it.
Well,
I don't know. Like after a while, when you start to get older, right? You start to almost have like that F-U mentality. Like,
sure, yeah, I get
F
that.
it. Like I'm 80 years old. I'm going to drive 80 miles an hour. I don't care.
Yeah, I get that.
Like you start really not caring. Like at what point do you just say to yourself, like, let's, F it. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Hey man, I get that.
Yeah, you get that.
I think they I think they could do DNA testing if they found out where the bodies were buried. If I was this guy and if I was really John Anglin, I would write another letter. I would keep writing letters. But I wouldn't send them to the FBI.
You just said you can stay quiet forever.
No,
Now-
I'm just saying.
now this guy's gonna
but
write-
he has cancer. He needs help.
I get it, and that's why I
If
say
he
like
wants-
after a while,
he
like,
wants help. So I would send him to every like newspaper publishing thing, and say like, all right, this is where the bodies are. I want help. I don't want to go back to prison. I don't want this. Just give me medical help, and I'll tell you exactly what's going on.
I don't even think like at this point, if you're 80 and you need medical help, wouldn't you want to go back to prison? Because then like at some
you would get
prisons
help,
you would
yeah.
get food,
Yeah,
you would
get
get a
medical
bed,
help.
and you could just chill. Yeah,
But maybe he doesn't want to go back to prison.
and that's the like I guess that mystery that's going to keep on going for like the end of time. I really hope there is some solution to all this.
What, like an outcome, like when he dies, or like when, like maybe
Something.
when he dies, like the family will
Even
know.
if it's like another 20 years from now and they find like some evidence.
Well, see if that family really does know where he is, and when he dies, like maybe they can be like, all right, you could do DNA testing now.
Well, they did in the one documentary.
I know.
They like took DNA from like their brother
Yep.
who actually died, and they tried to test it, you know, for some of the, because they did find like bones, you know, in like that Bay Area.
Yeah.
So maybe they can, man. But this is a mystery that's going to keep going on. And if
I think
you
it's
want,
just a cool mystery just because of the place, and it's, you know, it's unsolved. I think the place magnifies. Like if you just said like, you know, 3 brothers escape from, you know, a prison, pick your prison.
yeah, it's not as cool.
It's not as cool.
It doesn't have like that history. It doesn't have, you know, like 1960s when everything was like a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing where I didn't really care about this before, and then now like watching some of these documentaries, reading about it,
I think the building, you know,
and the whole thing, like it just,
Welcome to the Rock.
it's a terrible Sean Connery, bro.
But it's
You
all
gotta
it's an
work
awesome
on it.
movie.
Can you do the Nick Cage?
Which one?
I don't know. What does he say in that movie?
He has a couple good lines.
Like what? Are you gonna watch that movie now?
I should watch that movie now.
You won't watch it tonight.
I watched Jaws the night we did the Jaws podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. Why didn't you tell me you watched it?
Yeah.
Why don't you like post something?
Watching it.
Yeah.
I didn't get through the whole thing.
What do you mean you didn't get through the whole thing?
I fell asleep.
Yeah, you're like a little old man.
Yeah, man. When you get into bed and you watch the movies, you fall asleep.
I don't know if it's a good movie. I'm not falling asleep. Jaws is a good movie.
Jaws is a good movie, but it's drawn out.
Well, it's in the 70s also, you have to think about.
I mean, Michael Bay did do The Rock, though.
The Rock was good. I haven't seen it in a long time. Maybe in 96? Yeah, it was good. I remember the opening. The ending was the best.
Which one?
The Rock.
What? Oh, I found out who killed JFK.
Well, yeah, I guess the guy that got locked up that escaped, Sean Connery's character.
Yeah, he was a British intelligence guy.
And he
who
had all
likes
these secrets.
Yeah, that's why they locked him up and threw away the key.
Yeah.
And he was the only person to escape Alcatraz.
Yeah, see, why don't they, I don't know. Because I haven't seen it in a long time, but did they ever mention Frank Morris
No,
or the Anglin brothers?
No.
See, why wouldn't they mention that? I think that would be a cool, like, little plug or a little Easter egg. Go find it.
Yeah, they didn't.
I'm gonna have to watch it again just to see if they mention anything.
They don't.
Like, oh, the dummy heads. Anything about the case? Nothing.
No.
But the ending was cool, where he's like, "Oh, honey, you want to hear who killed Kennedy?
Yeah.
Area 51. Bigfoot living in the caves.
Bigfoot is definitely not living in the caves.
Bigfoot's living in the caves." So, I think people.
I think the place magnifies this mystery.
I definitely have to go check this place out, and I also want to.
Do the swim.
Would you ever do the swim? Would you do it?
I think that would be cool. Yeah.
I don't think you would. I think you would say you will, but you just like anything else.
Yeah.
You're gonna say a lot. You're not gonna do it.
I think I could make it.
It's a mile. Shit.
Mile swim. Yeah, man. Like think about the Ironmans. Guys swim 2 miles.
Yeah, but I don't swim a mile. Usually, I just like float around the pool.
Float around the current, man. You get swept out, you get swept out.
They'll have to come rescue me. Do you have to wear a life preserver?
No.
Well, I don't know. I would wear a life preserver. What if could I do it on my kayak?
That's ridiculous.
Why? I just want to just do it.
Oh my god.
I'll take off from the rock on my kayak and make it to.
Of course you can make it in a freaking kayak.
Oh, but the guys can't make it in a raft.
I didn't understand they couldn't.
No, but people said they can't. But I can make it in my kayak. But these people can't
Yeah,
make
but
it in
that's
a
a
raft.
kayak, bro.
All right. So
Why don't you make some raincoat? Make a raincoat kayak and
a
try it.
raincoat kayak.
Yeah, raincoat kayak. Try that.
What about a? Yeah, but if the waves are pretty big, it's gonna be kind of tough to keep that thing, upright. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my god.
I'll swim it. I'm gonna look into it because I really want to do this.
I wonder when it is.
Well, let's look. Why? It's only certain times of the year.
I don't know.
I guess it would have to be.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it in December.
And well, if you wear a wetsuit, maybe.
Good.
Escape from the rock.
The Rock.
Welcome to the rock.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to today's case file 32.
The Nightmare 365 podcast.
That's right. Visit nightmare365.com for all of our information, upcoming shows, case files, and the Weekday Weird, which we'll be posting every Wednesday now.
Also,
We're getting
stickers.
serious. We're getting serious with this stuff.
Stickers. I really like those stickers.
Did you take any?
Yes.
Take some, man.
I really like those. And people can get them. Free shipping.
free shipping, $3. Check
Yeah.
it out. We have to have, if anybody knows somebody that could really build a cool store, we need somebody because I need help. I can't do it myself.
On the website.
Yeah, so I've been trying to contact a couple people. A couple people said they would, and then never got back to me. So if anybody knows how to build a cool store for our website, visit nightmare365.com to check out our website. And then if you could build us a store, that'd be cool.
And if you want some stickers, buy one. We'll send you a couple for free. Free shipping.
We'll send you a couple for free.
Don't worry about that.
What are we doing? Handing stuff out now?
Yes.
All right. But yeah, all of our information can be found on our
Shirts.
websites. Shirts, everything. And upcoming shows, everything. Like I said, the new Weekday Weirds are going to be every Wednesday.
Did you do that intro?
What intro?
The Weekday Weird intro?
Yeah, I did, man.
You want to give some people a little preview?
A little preview of it?
Yeah.
We're playing the music now. This is the exit music. We'll give it at the end. We can play it.
Let's
We'll
play a
pause the exit music because this is a good epic exit music. But I do have, so we'll put a pause. Here's Greg's opening for the
My
Weekday
opening.
We
My-
have a couple of them. We have
to the
four.
rock.
We have 4 intros for the Weekday Weird. So here's a little taste of it. It's just like our intro to our podcast, just a little
switch.
different.
Join us for Weekday Weird.
There it
Tons
is.
of unsolved mysteries out there.
So there's only a
The
couple parts
Jersey
that are cut
Devil.
off.
Witches still exist.
There she is, bro. Do you like it?
Yeah, man.
Do you like that one? That one's your favorite. When
Yeah.
Greg starts it off, that's what we're going to probably be using. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts, too. And everything's going to be in the show notes from the stuff that we recommended as far as the documentary, the Jolene's book, a cool website, which we didn't mention, about escaping Alcatraz, which
Nightmare365.com.
has a lot of information. So, yeah, check it out on the website. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Stay spooky.